Hey, you lot, Brass Polish here, and welcome to my 3 anniversary Q&A. I'm sorry it's a day late, but I had stuff to take care of yesterday, and I realize currently my hair and my beard may look a bit disproportionate. I live in Canada, and we went from freeze my bollocks off weather to sweat my bollocks off weather in a week. Right, so yeah, it's too hot and humid to be wearing a beard right now. Plus, it was getting in the way of recording. I couldn't have my pop guard too close to my mouth without beard interference. Hopefully by the time BronyCon rolls around, my beard and my hair will be about the right length, and I'm sure it'll be worth getting molested by airport security. So, just 3 questions this time around, or rather 3 people asking questions. That's not bad. This will be nice and short. First up is Rosepal, and she asks 2 questions. Favorite pillar of Equestria from Season 7? I'm gonna say Sonambula. And I know that's not pronouncing her name right, but it's difficult to pronounce. Closely followed by Mage Meadowbrook. Those two had really good fleshed out backstories, whereas Rockhoof, Mistmane, and Flash Magnuses were all jumbled together rather clumsily. I think I've touched upon this very recently. I think I would like them better if they were a little more, they devoted a little more time rather than just dicking around with the fliders. And oh, those segues are so embarrassing. A perfectly good atmospheric episode ruined. It could have been like a summertime hearth-warming tale. That would have been great. But yeah, I think Sonambula had the most interesting legend. I mean, and as for Star Swirl, he was sort of what I was expecting, given what we learned about him in Magical Mystery Cure. I was kind of surprised to hear the Pony of Shadows say when Twilight attacked him, "This one's almost as strong as you." I was kind of, I was expecting like maybe Twilight to be actually more powerful than Star Swirl, because maybe magic had gotten more and more potent as the generations had gone by, so for his time Star Swirl was probably super powerful, but by today's standards he doesn't quite measure up to ponies like Twilight and Starlight and Sunset, I guess. That would have made Twilight's awe of Star Swirl a little bit more... it would have been something like Rainbow Dash in Daring Don't, who she put Daring Do so high up on a pedestal that she couldn't see her own worth anymore, as Twilight put it. And to those of you who think that it's basically that same moral, Rainbow Dash, when she actually basically screwed things up for Daring Do. She basically just kind of said, I better stay away from her. She doesn't need my help. I'm just going to be a hindrance. And it was Twilight who gave her the kick of the butt she needed to carry on and try to give Daring Do a hand regardless. But with Twilight in Shadowplay, she screwed up, but she was still trying to participate in finding a solution. Also, Sonambula's... do you remember that scene in that short scene in where they're all leaving the chasm and Sonambula's carrying Pinkie Pie? Oh god, that was cute. Rosepal also asks, favorite anime, least favorite anime? I'm not really an anime guy. Any anime insight I gleaned was from abridged series. I did watch Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! As a kid. I did watch some bits of animes that abridged series are based on, like Code Ment, Drat, Danganronpa abridged thing by Falero. And I found I couldn't quite get into Full Metal Alchemist. Yeah, so not a big anime fan. Easter Chew asks, if you were in a world where you are a Disney princess or prince, what story would you like to take part in and why? You could choose an existing one or a fairy tale that Disney hadn't done yet. I don't know. I think the closest I can think of is Belle from Beauty and the Beast. She does her own thing, and everyone around her is like, what the hell is up with her? And as for me, I'm a railway enthusiast, Tugs fan, and I'm the only one of those where I live. There's a lot of those on the internet, but where I live in person, there's hardly anyone who looks at me reading this, or any of these, without giving me weird looks. And I do read quite a bit in public when I'm waiting for, when I'm in a waiting room, or sometimes lunchtime at work. So I don't think I'd want to be Belle, but I think she's the one I can relate to the most. And finally, Zonrad. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. will you be going back to your old comic series and doing them as comics again? More into comics than fanfiction texts when it comes to Chapter 4. No offense. I'm afraid I'm not going to be carrying on with that series. My workload had gotten a lot bigger around the time I was finishing Horkos Works, and given that the Genie of the Duck Call was Equestria Girls, it was going to take a long time to work on a comic, because I'm not quite as experienced with humanoid vectoring. I've done a few things recently, but it's going to take a lot more practice. But by this time, my workload is a lot bigger even than it was at the time. So I didn't want to just sit on Genie of the Duck Call, because I'd already written it, and I liked the story a lot. So I just formatted it the way I did. So yeah, sorry, I'm not going to be carrying on with that series as a comic series, if at all. I'll let you know what what I had in mind. The fifth installment was going to involve railways again. It was going to be a sort of prison train, sort of a combination of the Elizabethan Express and the London to Glasgow traveling post office. Basically, it just ran non-stop around Equestria, and it dropped off and picked up things like TPO stowage van does. It was basically occupied only by prisoners of Equestria, whose whose crimes didn't quite warrant a stint in Tartarus, but I thought it would still kind of introduce a prison element to Equestria. Anyway, it basically becomes a pirate vessel, and since Horkos's emblem had been buried in the Equestria Girls universe, it was safe to unstatuify Brass. And by the way, that's not really canon to my character. It was more of a what if scenario. I think I've gone into detail about this later, so I won't go on about it here. He's unstatuified, but around that time, Pulp Puree rears his head, and he almost succeeds in drowning Nyx and poisoning Ladybug by Mickeying his water supply in his spritzing bottle. And at the same time they're dealing with that, basically Twilight and her lot are distracted, and so there's a pirate raid, and Brass is the only one around, and since he does want to do good in this world, he makes an attempt to put a stop to their crime spree, and the prison train ends up disappearing. I hadn't quite worked out all the details. So it sort of ends with Twilight thinking, "Oh, damn, I could have had another student of friendship." And I had a bare bones idea for a sixth installment where it starts with Twilight sort of brooding over basically letting Brass slip through her feathers. Then Rainbow Dash shows up and points out that Brass is on the cover of the newest Daring Do book, and they were going to read through it and find out how he ended up there and what was going on with him and Daring Do. I thought it was a fun idea to start with. I hadn't thought the whole idea through. As for comics in general, though, you may notice I've put some new ones up recently with a different format. A couple months ago, I did market research class. It was basically event comic, and I'm not going to go on about that. But that format's a lot quicker for me to work with, so I thought I'd try making quick little comic strips featuring my made-up, technically, locomotive October. So I think you can expect some more of those. But as for that ongoing story, starting with Zappo Lantern, moving on to Crystal Heart Attack, Horkos Works, and Genie of the Duck Call, sorry, I don't think I'm going to be continuing those. It's just gotten too hard for me to try to stick to my own fanon and the show's canon. It got a lot harder as it went on. It wasn't really a problem at first, because I knew at the end of the day it was just fan fiction. But with all those issues, it got harder for me to do that. And consistency is important to me. I do intend to carry on with fan fiction. I want to explore something I covered in a Spit and Polish. What was it? Potential spin-offs too. I really think the idea that presented to us at the end of work, damn it, work. hard to say anything. It has a lot of potential. I'm having trouble writing my first installment of that, though, because it's meant to be a pretty simple story, but it gets convoluted near the end, so I'm trying to work out how to deal with that. So, thank you for your questions. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subbing and watching my DeviantArt. And I hope to carry on entertaining you. I know I haven't got a big audience, but it's an audience nonetheless, and that makes me happy. See ya.